Okay, kom ons kyk gou. We were busy sketching an inverse function. Okay, so at the bottom here, I asked you guys to get me the formula of that inverse, right? Okay, so we would then have, and for now, remember I said that, right? But because we don't know whether that's a function yet, because we can only write it in this type of notation if it's a function, I am going to first say f minus 1 to show that it is inverse, and then we say y is equal to plus minus square root x over 2. You guys good with that? Okay. Can I delete this bottom part over here? No. All right. So once we've got our equation, let's go and get points to plot so that we can draw this graph. Now, it will work the same as what we previously had. Let's make option 1 is I substitute in a value of x to get the y answer, or the y part of that specific coordinate. Or, because we know inverse, remember, of that graph, we said minus 1 and 2 will become what? 2 minus 1. So I can immediately plot that point without even having to do any calculations. No. Okay, and that other coordinate of 1 and 2 will become 2 and 1. No. Okay, so my inverse graph, en is nou glad nie perfek geteken nie. Jy geduld met hierdie juffrou wat glad nie mooi teken nie, julle ken vir my. Nou so. Okay, so x glad nie opskaal nie. 2 and 1 and 2 and minus 1. Okay. If you only had those 2 points and you were still a bit weary of where should it be, then just substitute in more points. Okay. Is julle reg? Okay, kom ons kyk of ons iets gemis het. Okay, now, this red graph, the inverse, is that a function? No. Can you see why I had to change the notation there? No, because we can only say this if it's a function. Okay, so that's why I had to go and change that. So get into the habit of first writing it in this format, and then if it's a function, you can end with f minus 1x. Okay, good. Now, let's go and restrict that red graph so that it would be a function. Okay, nou wag gou. I'm going to ask it slightly different now. Restrict. Kyk gou. fx, so ek vra vir jou om die oorspronklike grafiek te gaan beperk. Restrict fx so that f minus 1 would be a function. So in plaas daarvan, remember the previous one? I asked you to restrict the inverse function. Nee, so then we said y must be greater than 0 or y must be less than 0. Remember that? Okay, but now I'm asking it other way around. I'm asking you to restrict the green graph, the original, the fx, so that the inverse would be a function. So self done, right? Remember, how do we get that red one to be a function? I either want only this or only that. Nee, so een van die twee arms is wat ek soek. So as jy nou gaan kyk na daai groene, nee, I restrict it so that I have one arm or the other arm. Nee, wie wil raai? X? Daar's hy. Easy as that. So x must be less than and equal to 0, or x must be greater than and equal to 0. Because when I say x must be less than 0, it means I'm talking about that arm. Nee, en toe ek hom gaan skets by die inverse, when I wrote or drew that part of the inverse, it was just this one arm. Do you guys see? No. Of as ek sê x moet wees groter as 0, then I'm talking about that arm. And the inverse of that arm would be this one. Do you guys agree? Hoe weet ek dit? Kyk na die koördinate, né? Is julle reg? Does that make sense, people? Nee. Doesn't make sense. Okay. Let's go. Right. So if I say x is less than 0, it means I'm working with that arm. No. Okay. So the arm on the left-hand side I took away. So now we only have this. No. Okay. So if I get the inverse of just that arm, look at the coordinates. Minus 1, 2 became 2 minus 1. So the inverse would then just be that. And if I just have that arm, this one, and I do vertical line test, it's only going to touch the line once. So then it would be a function. Does it make sense, Awa? Kom ons kyk gou. If I restrict it, dis eintlik 'n nee, ek weet. X is greater than 0, it means I'm talking about this green arm there. No. Okay, and when I draw inverse of just that arm, it would be this one. And if I do vertical line test with that, would it be a function? Ja, ek gaan net om een keer raak, nee. All right, dankie. Any other questions here? Hello. Hi. Net ek nou afgeslaan. Dit vir ek het net Engels oor, lyk dit my. Alright. Okay. Okay. Right. Is julle reg? You guys good? That looks like it. Okay. So nou gaan ek gou vir julle huiswerk gee. Okay, so we're going to start with exercise 1, oefening 1. Dit is op bladsy 35. Nommer 3 en 5. And then exercise 2, which is on page 39. We're going to do number 1.2 and 1.3. Yeah. 1.2 and 1.3. Right, that is it.